proud.
Great. I love that.
Yes. And I have my tweet ready to go. Look at me.
Listen, 5-minute grace period. I operate on that. I live and breathe by that.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. I'm expecting the YouTube notification that I am live any moment.
I don't know why YouTube sends us that notification. Like, why does this happen?
I never understand the email. Like, I'm like, why are you emailing me about it? Like, I can understand a YouTube notification popping up, but like an email seems really excessive.
Yeah. Like, I guess it could be like, oh, if you're wondering if everything worked properly, it is. But like, yeah, the email seems odd. I don't know.
I guess maybe someone like hacked your account, but like, it's still.
Hello, cool gamer. We're having so many sprints right now. Hello. Hi, Bree. Yes, hang out in the chat. Like, jumping from like multiple sprints is a lot. Even though Brittany and Margaret did. Hello, Sarah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so.
Also, Margaret and I were discussing, we both have fans on. Brittany, I don't know if you have a fan on, but
I do. It's right there.
Okay. It's hot. I can't tell at all. I can't hear anybody's, but in the chat, like if we just can't hear because it's canceling out, let us know. Like I know I can put headphones on and we're not going to ask people to turn off their fans because it's pretty hot, I think, in most places. So.
It's so hot.
Yes. Okay. So, Brittany and Margaret, do we want to start off with like a quick intro? You want to plug your channel? Margaret, of course, is the mastermind behind the mid-year reading Scramble. Yes. Although obviously you guys can also hang out and read with us if you're not participating. So let's just do like quick intros and then we'll go around again and talk about what we're going to be reading.
Yes. Hi, I'm the one responsible for this madness. It's less mad this time because it's going for the whole month instead of just the weekend.
Yes.
Like that weekend just doesn't, especially in the holidays, not till Tuesday, it just doesn't hit the same.
Yeah.
So, I love that, Selena. I'm glad you're finding new people to follow.
Yay!
But yes, I talk about books on my channel, primarily fantasy. If you have been on any of Brianna's sprints, you may now know me as the Little Thieves Girl.
Mm-hmm.
So
listen, join us. Join the club.
There was a sprint where Brianna literally was like, Margaret, do you want to explain Little Thieves? I'm like, hold on! And like sprinted to my bed to grab it and then came back into my spiel.
I told you from the beginning, I'm like, Margaret, you're going to enjoy this.
I knew I was going to love. Anyways, I'm the #1 Little Thief stand now. I talk about books. I do a lot of sprints on my channel. Sometimes I talk about D&D when we're not doing too massive or too involved readathons. I do have a like role-playing kind of TBR game that I play that I may or may not be revamping a little bit in these next 2 months. And that is me.
Hey, I'm Brittany. My channel is Brittany Loves Reading, and I do the bookish things that we do, the vlogs and the sit-down videos. Those things. I read a little bit of everything except horror. Horror and me are not the best of friends, but I read a little bit of everything. But my two main genres are usually fantasy, but this year I'm in my romance era. So
I was gonna say, you're in your romance girl.
I am full into my romance era this year. Who knew that was ever going to happen? I did not have that on my bingo card, but here we are.
There's a lot of people having that this year. It's going around.
It is.
I am feeling the need for a good romance. The one in the book that I was reading earlier is not.
It's not it, is it?
It's not. It's well, let's just say the eventual end game is going to work. The romance we start out with at the beginning, there was SA on screen or on page, and I was just like, well, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
Like, it made me mad too because I knew what she was doing with it, and I was like, "This is terrible." Like, it's my biggest problem with the book, honestly. But I feel like certain deadlines have been pushed, so I may pick up a book that is like might switch up the TBR because I now have a little bit more room to read some things, and I might just pick up a romance here very soon.
Yeah. Yes, do it. Come to the dark side.
The brand new Kindle romances I got for Stuff Your Kindle.
Yes. How many books did you end up getting for Stuff Your Kindle? Just curious.
Probably about 30 or 40. It was hard because like I'm going through this list and all I have is a title and the synopsis to go off of. And really what gets me to pay attention to the book is the cover. And then so it was just scrolling through it. I like grabbed a couple that I liked the title on, and the cover checked out. But
yeah, there's definitely a few that I like looked up and saw the cover and went, never mind.
Maybe not.
And not my thing.
Yeah. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Kara. My channel is, of course, Wild Book Garden. That's where we're hanging out right now. I, like Brittany, I read pretty much everything. Also, like Brittany, not really a horror person. Like Mexican Gothic is pretty much it. Which I loved, but like, yeah, that was a lot. I am actually not in my romance era, but I do like sprinkle in some. Like I read a lot of fantasy and historical fiction. I read some classics, contemporary nonfiction, like all the things, all the age ranges. I actually run a book club that is related to that, the Not a Genre Book Club, where we read middle grade and young adult books, and it's a good time. Yeah, Brittany and Margaret are already linked in the description, as is Margaret's announcement video for the mid-year reading Scramble. So if you want just like a quick overview and kind of how the different paths work, which I always think is a really fun element Margaret puts in. I love a readathon with prompt choices. What can I say?
Yes. Well, it's also like one that specifically works for my brain. So it's like you limit your choices.
Yes.
So basically the way it works is you have one prompt to start off with, and from that prompt you get 2 more prompts, and you choose one of those prompts, and you continue on that way until you hit the end. There's like 4 levels, and you can go back and redo stuff if you want. But yeah, I got that idea like 2 or 3 years ago, and thought it was cool, and now it's incorporated into a lot of the stuff I do.
I love it. I love it.
So.
And perfect segue. Do we want to talk about what we're going to be reading? And if you want to talk about what path and prompt you're doing, they're currently reading Goodreads Goal and Physical TBR, right? Those are like kind of the 3 things to choose from that you want to focus on, or you can like mix and match, and you know, it's
you can
like we are prompt people, but we understand not everyone is.
Yeah, what I've tried to do in years, I'm not doing that this year. I'm going to be focusing on Goodreads Gold because my Goodreads Gold needs help. But what I've done in years past is I would do like pick a path for each of them, each of the prompts, and try and do all 3. We're not trying that this time. If it fits between a couple of different boards, if a book fits between a couple of different boards and like it's in order, fine, we'll go there. But anyways, so I'm reading Rapunzel's Revenge by Shannon and Dean Hale, who are married. And then Nathan Hale is unrelated. We were asking this question in the last sprint. He is unrelated.
Wow. I think I just assumed that he was her son.
Yeah. I'm reading this. So I'm going back and forth between this and then The 13th Hour by Trudy Skies, which is a time. I'm almost done. So I probably
You're so close. You're so close. Just finish it out.
Like, it's one of those things that it's like she's trying to critique religion, but in the way that she's doing it, it is so heavy-handed. I'm like, ma'am.
Which one is this?
Cruel. It's the first book in the Cruel God series, The 13th Hour.
Okay.
And like, I can see what she's doing in the way that she's critiquing how religion is used to manipulate and gaslight and all of this stuff, and the concept of sin and how it's used in different things that don't make sense. And she's very much, I feel like she's very much like, I don't like, I can't say like what her experience with religion is. Right. There is some of it. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing with these gods, and I see what the critique specifically of Christianity is in that. And I'm like, but also some of what you're critiquing with Christianity is actually a bastardization of what is actually supposed to be happening. So it's like, I'm enjoying aspects of that. It's just everything it's so surface level that like she's got too much going on, and we're not getting the depth and nuance that we need for this to work the way it should work. But I'm having a good time right now because the plot is going.
What prompt are you doing for that? Did you already say?
It's whatever the first one. Oh, so this is not for mid-year reading scramble. I just have to finish this because other books that I need to read adjacent to this, I can't, like other books on my mid-year scramble, I can't finish until I finish this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They
Gotcha.
follow after it. This one is, I don't know, what were the prompts that I came up with?
Like, whatever other stuff. Like,
Way to ask a hard question.
Do you think I memorized things? This is for whatever the first prompt on the Goodreads goal is, which is a book from your physical TBR. So I wanted something on my physical TBR, and I just happened to have edited a video that reminded me that I had it.
Nice.
Good. So thank you, Kara, because Kara's the one that sent that to me.
You're welcome.
I
enjoyed it. Yeah. Brittany, what are you planning to read?
I'm doing the physical TBR board. So the first prompt is shortest book. Is this the shortest book I own? I don't know, but it was the shortest book on my TBR card. So that's what
that counts.
And it's The Rain Watchers. And it is a historical fiction following like a family who comes to Paris, and the Seine is now overflowing. And destroying Paris. So that's what this covers. And I'm over halfway through. So I could potentially finish.
Yeah.
On sprints, it's a possibility. It depends on how many familial interruptions happen during these sprints, whether I will finish these or not. But we'll see.
It's a toss-up. And then I have two goals. I would like to accomplish both of these during sprints, but it might be pushing it. But I am reading Welsh Fairy Tales, Myths, and Legends by Claire Fayers for the shortest book prompt, because it's definitely one of the shortest books I have. And I've already read a couple stories, and I'm really enjoying it. And I found that I do really well with like collections or anthologies during sprints. Like that's easier for me to like kind of parcel out. And then my other thing that I'd like to get to 100 pages in The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon. And I'm not letting myself mark it as currently reading on Goodreads until I get to page 100, because I have too many books going right now. I'm doing the physical TBR path, but honestly, I need help with currently reading too. Yeah, and unfortunately, this one is counting for the soft DNF prompt. Because like I'm not having a great time. I have almost unhauled this book like 3 times. But I want to at least get to like the letter writing part, because that's like a big part of the romance. This is supposedly like a kind of like a dark comedy fantasy romance version of You've Got Mail, sort of.
And that's such
which
a good
is
one.
not always my favorite trope, but I love it in She Loves Me, and like The Shop Around the Corner. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I would like to actually like make some progress on that so I can admit that I'm reading it. Because that's
I think give it to like 50 pages, and if you're still not feeling it, I don't know where the letters start, but
yeah, it's just I think part of the problem. So I don't like the world, and I don't like how it's being like set up. But I think the bigger problem is that I don't like the way the romance is going, and that's like the whole point of the book.
Right.
I mean, they've only interacted a couple times, but it's one of those like, oh, they've hated each other for so long, but every time they meet, they think about how hot the other person is. And I'm like, I'm sure some people do that, but it's like, if I dislike somebody, like that's not the thing that I'm thinking about every time I talk to them is like, wow, you're the worst, but also like, I don't know.
I feel like for me it would be, oh man, it sucks that they are so hot.
Well, and that I understand. That I understand, but this doesn't, I don't know, maybe it's also like the specific word choices, because I'm very picky about that with romance especially. But I'm gonna try and give it at least to the letter thing, because the whole point is that they end up like falling in love through letters, and then they realize who the other person is, and they're like, oh shit. So I want to at least see them like be nice to each other in writing. So before I like decide. But yeah, let's see what everybody else is up to. Rainy Blue Reads is reading the last book of Caraval. You have to finish for the vlog. Yeah, I am familiar with like last minute deadline reading. You can do this.
We've all been there.
We really have, yeah. So Luna, I need to pick the next path choice as I'm almost done. Don't know what to choose because I don't vlog yet and don't have any events this month. Well, feel free to like ask in the chat, or I don't know, the hosts in the chat can vote. We'd love to help somebody pick a book.
Isn't that so funny? Because I will love picking for other people. For myself, I'm like, I don't.
I know. It's like, it's so much easier when it's someone else. Hello, Mel. How are you doing? I know it's Sunday for you. And you're okay. Rainy Blue Reads is doing the currently reading path, so you can finish finale and then move to newest release and read Yellowface.
Ooh.
Yeah, and a caveat on the currently reading, because I know some people only have like a few. If you run out of currently reading books, just start reading books.
Yeah, and then they become currently reading books.
Make them currently reading.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to start off with? Let me do some quick math here. If we go till like 45, that would be like a little less than half an hour. Does that sound like a good warm-up sprint for people?
Sure.
Sounds great.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. I know Margaret always does like the fancy timers. I just do banners.
Works perfect.
We like to give you a variety of experiences here. So
whatever works for you. I've like Bree tried to start out with the timer and it was not working for her.
Yeah, because
I
sometimes
recognize internet.
Yeah, and sometimes it's real easy to like just share the tab, and sometimes it does not let you.
StreamYard is a finicky person.
Yeah, it is finicky. Okay, so
no trouble choosing currently reading as I'm in the middle of 10 books. Oh, Rainy, you're hilarious.
Yeah, I have done like this year, and one of my goals is like not letting my currently reading get out of hand, and I'm doing really well at like the actively currently reading books, but I've developed this really bad habit of like picking up a book and reading like 3 chapters and then like I'm actually not in the mood for this, and so I feel like I've started it but I'm not actually reading it, and so I just have like bookmarks in like an embarrassing number of books. And anyway, that's why I might also be doing the currently reading path.
That's my currently reading right now. One of those books has been on there. It's a Rachel Held Evans book that I got to almost the end, and it's been on there since January of like 2021.
I mean, if you've been currently reading it for over a calendar year, I'd say you're probably not actually actively reading it.
I need to read like the last chapter and then mark it off on my Goodreads because like I've read so much of it. I'm like, usually like if it's the first quarter, I'll be like, you know what, I'm just gonna restart it.
Yeah.
When we get to the end of the year, I cleared off of my currently reading, but I didn't do that. I didn't do that for Assassin's Quest either because I am going to finish that dumb book.
I need to post my like series book tag, even though it's like so late in the year, and Margaret will know some of my answers.
I'm sure I will have a good fun time. If it were any other author, I would probably at this point have gone like but because it was the series that I was enjoying the most, and then it's the author that it is, and people act like you have no right to have an opinion on anything about them if you haven't finished it. I'm like, the fact that I didn't finish the book tells you something. Like, it's just one storyline, right? Like, I hate to DNF a book because one storyline is pissing me off.
Yeah. I
did figure out what's going to happen, I think.
Okay. Like, the rush of serotonin I get from not reading a Robin Hobb book is incredible. Like, I don't think I can ever go back because...
Like, I know people that have really liked that final series she did. The Dragons series.
Oh yeah, that's the one that I always thought sounded more interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I like Fitz enough that I may read the next Fitz series, and then read the final one, but I haven't decided yet. It'll depend on how Assassin's Quest goes.
I can't handle Fitz. I
understand.
That's completely fair. I've only read the first 2. Last month I read the second in the first series.
Oh, I enjoyed that one. That was my favorite.
I didn't like it. So then I'm like, if that's everyone's favorite, I'm not in.
Yeah. I liked Fitz fine up until that last book. And then it just like, I mean, I had a lot of issues with that book in general. Number one being it is 900 pages and 800 pages of it doesn't matter.
Well, why?
It really doesn't matter. I'm like, how did she get away with bamboozling us? Like, I don't think she has an editor.
No,
but
she's
like
the Anna
Fitz
Claire
is
of that
just-
generation.
I think one of the things about Fitz that is so frustrating is like he has like the strongest like written by a man author flavor that I've ever come across, but like Robin Hobb has no excuse. Like, I mean, I know that female authors can do that as well, and I've definitely read other examples, but like
so did Ship of Destiny, so
yes, and I really feel like one of the reasons that Robin Hobb is like so incredibly popular, even among readers who very rarely read women, is that it doesn't feel like it's written by a woman. Like every 20 pages, somebody is like trying to get in Fitz's pants, and I'm like, you have spent so much time telling us about how he's like dirty and he's like in disguise as like this scruffy sheep herder, and he has like no personality, and I'm like, I just don't buy this. Like, was this ghost written by a man? Like, be honest.
It made sense when he was at court. Like, my thing is, and the thing that frustrates me is that she gets away with stuff that if it was a male author writing it, we would drag them for.
That's like my point. Yeah.
Ship of Destiny, the shit that went down in Ship of Destiny that made me hate it so much. Like, if one plot development had not been in there, it would have gotten like a 2-star because I could have recognized the skill for the series. But the fact that plot development was in there, it meant nothing. And then at the end, we get like this betrayal of what we have been told was this character's story throughout 3 books. Like, I'm not saying that it had to be her story, but if you give me 3 books or 3 and 3/4 books saying that's her story, and then the last 25 you just forget about her.
Yeah, I think the worst part for me was like, or the final nail in the coffin was like the way that the very end was written, and specifically how she was trying to make us feel about the perpetrator, and I was like, no, absolutely not.
She very easily could have done a juxtaposition against how everyone else saw him, and then all of the people that knew her rallying around her at the end and going, this, like, instead of them continuing on with this stupid fucking legend of this character that was a waste of 3 books. I hated his point of view.
It was like 2,700 pages, and I'm like, what did I get out of this besides like
all 3 of those books would have improved if we cut out the stupid snakes, cut that in half, and then cut out whatever the frack his name was.
I know.
Get rid of most of that.
Yeah, I can't. Hello, Bree. We are just complaining about Robin Hobb. No, it's okay. Margaret, I told you this happens every time we're on a live together, is we inevitably get onto Robin Hobb, which is fine with me.
I love it because I only know from the first 2 books, so I'm like, I know a little bit, but not enough to really like understand what you're talking about. But
Brittany, if you're not going to read the Live Ship Trader series, get me sometime just when we're not on the live. I will give you a stupid rundown.
Yeah,
that's a deal.
There's so much about it that I get why people love it, and I would love it too if it were not for the way, like the way people act about it and act towards people who disagree, and like act like our criticisms are not valid because she's written all of those. Like, that's the thing that gets me. It gets me so angry. It's it's a little gaslighty. So, sorry. Like, I get why people like it, and I'm hoping I will like the Farseer trilogy still. But
yeah, Brie, it's funny because Brie and I were just part of a live show yesterday for one of the Tamora Pierce series, which I think was written even earlier, and does things well. I'm sorry, Mel. I know.
Feels like my heart.
I swear I don't spend all of my time shitting on Robin.
Yeah.
Just when I am with Kara or when it comes up. Like, my problem is I felt Robert frickin' Jordan did a better job with his female storylines in Eye of the World and making them their own people than what happened with one of the main characters of Life Ship Traders. Yeah. Because we get this very good, strong, independent woman story, and then it's like, oh, well, or what would have been a very good story. But we're just gonna have her get married, basically.
And yeah.
So, anyways, it's not I promise, Mel. It's not that. It's that like Kara and I very much had people when we were doing some of those live shows just tell us like we didn't understand.
Right. It's not like Mel, you're not like pushy or aggressive about it. It's like we're talking about there's like a significant subset of the fan base that is like like so violently in love with her books that it's like if you have any like criticism, they act like you're just not smart enough. Like or that that like you just don't like endings.
I don't know if you got the first part of this, but part of what, besides the fact that the Farseer trilogy so far has been the one I've liked the most, part of the fact that I'm going to finish Assassin's Quest is because I know that if I don't, people will drag me for not having finished it and say every single critique I have about even the flaws that I saw in there, which don't bother me nearly as much, but even the flaws I saw in there are incorrect because I didn't finish and I don't understand. But like, yeah, it's one of those things that like I can see where she fits in fantasy because for a female writer at the time, especially writing adult fantasy, like I see where she fits in the wave of feminism that she's in and why those stories, especially when we get to like live ship traders, why those stories were so groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah.
And I just wish we gave her the same kind of like I wish people were able to give her the same kind of distance that will give some of the older classic fantasy male authors.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Very cool. Surprise short story. Yeah, Bree, take your medicine and don't worry about jumping on. Like headaches and migraines, not good. So just take care of yourself. Yeah, exactly, Mel. It's frustrating.
I also like the third trilogy is Fitz and the Fool trilogy, and I kind of ship them.
I think that's the intent, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so funny. I'm reading. I'm like, did Robin Hobb realize she was writing a gay book when she started writing this book? This is very gay.
Okay, should we go until the hour now? Like
yes, probably.
All right, we're gonna start now. We're gonna mute our mics. We will be back in about half an hour. Okay. Hello, everybody. We are back. How did that go for everyone?
I have 17 minutes left.
Oh, so close. So close.
490. I've got 30 pages. 30 pages left in this stupid book.
At least you'll have it done.
Yeah, I'll have it done. The end is better than like the first 75%. I'll give you that.
That's good.
I mean,
So I'm still waiting to see how they fix a thing, because I know. So it looks like a character has died, but I know that character is on the cover of the next book, so he has to be alive.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, anyways, also important news: Rainey bought Little Thieves.
I turned my camera off, saw that populate, and instantly turned my camera back on just to react to your reaction of that.
When this
Join
is done,
us, Rainey.
It's great you missed it, Kara. You were looking the wrong way. But when we are done with this live stream, go back to the beginning of the first sprint and
You will see Margaret having a little happy dance for the Little Thieves being purchased and me enjoying it.
I'm feeling like we should just do an impromptu, low-key Little Thieves read-along in August.
I'm okay with this because I'm reading it in August because you are also the reason I bought it. Because I watched you read the whole thing and I was like, well, I need to be a part of this.
Like, we'll just a low-key under the cover. All teams accepted.
Yes.
Rainey got to 40% in with the other book. Good. You will finish the book tonight. Loving the Caraval series, though. I'm actually kind of excited to get to it because I've read the first book in the spin-off series because I was told that you didn't need to read the others, which I think is not really true. But I really enjoyed it, and so I'm looking forward to going back.
I asked Rainey that. I was like, you read Caraval and is also planning on reading Once Upon a Broken Heart. And I was like, when you do, tell me if I have to read Caraval to read in an order. And Rainey has said that you don't technically have to, but like if you want the full experience.
Right. That's what I would agree with that because like I definitely can understand everything. It's not like confusing, but there are things where it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to know this already. So yeah, I would agree with that. Started getting back on editing. Good luck. I have some edits that I need to do at some point. Post it on your Instagram. Rainey says yes to a Little Thieves read along.
I'm down.
86% of the book. Nice. Let's see. Rainy. Yeah, I also think so. Like if you're interested in reading both, I wish I would have started with Caraval. Yes, main dude in the spin-off series is a main character in the others. And I also like I know not everybody feels like this is a spoiler. So I understand, but like knowing who the love interests are is something I don't always want to know ahead of time. Like sometimes it does feel like a spoiler, and that was one of the things about Once Upon a Broken Heart with some of the other characters in it. But
well, and I really like it when I see like Easter eggs from a previous book in a book that I'm reading. Like I love how that like gives me that nostalgic feel for previous books. So I feel like if you read books like that in the wrong order, you lose that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, like if it's a romance series, there have been times where it's like I'm only interested in book 4, so I just read book 4. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when it's like a spin-off, I think there needs to be more clarity about how much like you're gonna miss. How did your sprint go, Brittany?
I ended up reading 22 more pages, so we're getting through it.
Good.
I'm enjoying it. It's good. So
I read about 25. Also, this is hilarious. You can tell how long ago I started this book because I've got my cute little Christmas themed bookmark in here. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it had been that long, but it's fine. Yeah, so thankfully it is picking up a little bit because we have the actual letters starting and I really like the letters. So I'm hoping the other part is gonna like win me over. We'll see. It's also one of those situations where like the main character is like she's being told all of these like secrets by her different family members, and she's like not allowed to tell any of the other family members, which is understandable, but like that's a lot of stress and pressure on her. And also it's a little frustrating because there's like this big problem that she's worried about, and I'm like, the solution is really obvious. All of these secrets work together. Which I understand like is realistic. Like, of course, when you're in the middle of that, it doesn't feel easy, but I'm like, this is just so painfully obvious how this is gonna work out. Like, I don't know. So I'm strange that if a prequel is out in a series, I will pick that up first before the main series. Me too. I do that too, because otherwise it's like, why? I'm not usually a fan of prequels in general. So if I know ahead of time, then I can just pick up the prequel and treat it as like the first book. Because like, why would I want to go back and read it when I already know where everything, like how everything ends up?
Yeah, it also has to do with like what is the prequel about? Like, like why would I want to read Fairest when it's about the freaking villain? I don't care. I don't care. But like you can have something that's a prequel, but it's like about stuff that happened 10 or 20 years before. Yeah. And is like going over events that, because sometimes that's stuff that readers want to know more about.
And you know what's an example of an excellent prequel is Fire from the Graceling series by Kristen Shore.
I didn't know that was a prequel.
It is though, because it takes place like a few decades before, and even though like it's in a completely different location, which I think is a good thing, because then it doesn't feel like, well, we already know what happens, you know, how everything ends up. So
yeah,
I think, like, speaking of good feminist fantasy series,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
It is.
I love it.
It's so good. And have you, Margaret, you read the two books that came out recently, right?
I think the last one I read was book 4. I haven't gotten to the newer ones yet.
Well, book 4 is one of the newer ones. I don't think there's been a book 6, but now let me see.
I know Sea Sparrow is the last one I remember coming out. So
yes, I think that's the one I'm talking about. I keep mixing up the last two titles. Okay, yeah. So if you've read Sea Sparrow, then you're caught up.
I have not read Sea Sparrow yet, but I am almost caught up. Hey, Brianna!
I feel so happy about Winterkeep. I can't talk about it, but I was having a good time, okay?
Yeah. Sarah the Dreamer did a read-along, and I read the books for that. Or I already read Graceling and Fire, and then I reread those and read Winterkeep and whatever the
Bitter Blue.
No, Bitter Blue is book 3.
Yeah.
And then what's the one that's after Bitter Blue?
Winterkeep.
Yes. Okay. Never mind. I did read that. I'm so confused.
I love how I know the whole order. Have not read the books. Own the whole set.
They're good. They're really good.
I'm like that. I'm like, I'll buy the whole series before I ever picked it up.
I need the new covers in hardcover, please, because I don't like waiting for books.
Yeah, that's fair.
I am not a hardcover girly, but
I like my hardcovers because I can take that dust jacket off. I can read the book,
but then,
read it up,
then it's like you don't have any cover. I don't understand. Like, I know a lot of people do that, and I will do that if like the under dust jacket is really pretty. But it's like if I buy a hardcover just to take off the dust jacket every time I read it, I'm like, well, I guess the spine looks nice on my shelf.
Well, the point is that the dust jacket keeps it looking nice on my shelf, and it continues to stay pretty. And then, hold on, let me show you.
Well, no, I understand. Like, and I know that people talk about paperbacks getting damaged more easily, but I personally don't find that true. Like, I feel like hardcover, like, I hate when the dust jacket gets like even a tiny bit bent or like there's a little tear in it.
Yeah,
whereas
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like a lot harder to do that, I feel.
Also, I will say my toxic trait is cracking spines on purpose. So I love a cracked spine on a paperback. So I don't mind if they get a little bit because I do it on purpose anyway.
I don't like the cracked spines as much, but I was trying to find one of my Percy Jackson, but one of my Rick Riordan books. Like you can see food stains on the hardcover part, but like the dust jacket looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I guess
covers, maybe I'm just very careful with paperbacks. I don't know. Like I don't usually have a problem with them getting damaged, but
just get thrown in bags and stuff. I'm terrible.
Yeah. I also love floppy paperbacks. I think
floppy's the top tier.
I like how because my paperbacks always end up falling apart by the time that after a few reads, and I'm just like, because I'm not one of those people that's like very carefully opening it so the spine doesn't crack, and I'm having to like do this.
I don't do that. I just like, I don't know. I guess I'm in the middle. Like the only ones that I have actually had to like replace paperback copies because they're getting like too damaged to read. I think there's like 2 series that I've done that with, and they've been ones that I've reread like probably at least 20 times.
Yeah.
So I feel like I usually don't have to worry about that unless it's one of those.
My Sea of Monsters book, what pages were falling out by my like 3rd reread.
See, okay. I'm not a big
reader, Margaret.
And honestly, it's not even it. Like those just were really shitty paperbacks. I'm gonna be honest. Like they were not great.
Right. There are some that come apart a lot more easily than others. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the Penguin Classics. I read this once, and like not even the part like this isn't even cracked, and pages were coming out. I was like, well, the glue heat. Like I just opened the page and it went whoop, and I was like, seriously? I didn't even do anything to you.
Yeah. I also, though, like, I feel like some of the hardcovers that people talk about collecting the most, like the Penguin Clothbound Classics.
Oh, those are beautiful.
You can't
like, I don't love them. I like some of them, but again, I'm not a hardcover person, and I don't love how clothbound feels usually. Mm-hmm. But it's like those beautiful embossings get worn off. I'm like, that's a freaking expensive book to like have that get worn off. So it's like I don't feel like they're always super hardy. Yeah. We are discussing paperbacks versus hardcovers. I'm team paperback. I'm standing strong in my truth. Like
the books themselves are actually super, like the design wears off, but like there are copies at my library that have clearly been read a gajillion times and they're still going strong. I
just consider like that part of the construction of the book is especially because like that's like the main reason people collect those editions. Is fancy embossing.
You want a nice hardcover to collect Jane Austen with? I say the Everyman's Library Edition. These guys, they have fantastic margins. Look at those margins.
Yeah, I do like those, but my edition of choice.
You have really cute editions too. I would get those.
Yeah, I think they might make them in hardcover. I don't remember, but these are like the vintage classics, and I really, really love the design on these.
That's the back. I have the Barnes and Noble paperbacks of Jane Austen.
Those are nice.
I like those. I wish I could get those in Canada.
Like,
I've been thinking about getting those, even though I really don't need another set of Jane Austen.
Need and want are 2 very different things.
The woman only lived long enough to, you know what, Brown is right. Certain genres I do prefer in paperback, especially romance. The woman didn't live long enough to publish more than 6 books. So if I wanted full Jane Austen shelf, I needed multiple versions. I'm sorry.
That's right. That's right.
True.
Yes, huge floppy paperback fantasies. It's very satisfying. Yeah. Another one for team paperback. I love it. Romance and hardcover. Yes. Okay. It's hard because like I feel like sometimes or a lot of times that's viewed as like, oh, you've really made it because your new romance book is coming out in hardcover. And I'm like,
but then it looks weird on my romance shelf because none of the other ones are hardcover.
Yes, it's like I'm happy for you, but sad for me.
I like
it. Just look weird.
And it also it depends on the genre because like YA romance, country romances, those always come out in hardcover first. They usually do because it's YA.
True.
But like adult romance does, and I like adult romances are like the perfect size to be a paperback. That said, I do like what they did with the Talia Hibbert hardcovers from Illumicrate, because they still made them about the same size as your typical romance paperback, and then they have the sprayed edges match the text on each of them. I'm just like, this is pretty.
I think, I mean, one of the reasons I order so many like UK editions is because I love that they get the paperback on release usually, whereas in the US you have to wait like 1 to 2 years if it even happens.
Yeah.
And I also like, the thing that I find really frustrating is like, yeah, okay, the publisher and everyone don't make as much money with the paperback sales with a hardcover, but there's a lot of people who like cannot afford to buy books because hardcovers are so expensive. And I think there's a decent number of people who would be able to make some book purchases, as opposed to none, and it's just like very frustrating.
The way people are being priced out of books, at least like when they first get released.
Yes,
I understand from a business perspective why you release the hardcover and the paperback at different times, because it does generate more hype. It does lead to longevity of author careers. So I understand that.
Yeah, and like a re-promotion kind of. Yeah.
I also think that we need, like, books need to be accessible to some extent.
Yeah.
Well, in Canada, like a new hardback is like $38. So like that's hard for people.
Yeah.
Like that's a chunk of change.
Yeah.
So, like I have the special edition of Leviathan Wakes, like the 10-year anniversary. That book is like $50, I think. Hold on.
And that's a special edition. I'm paying $38 for like your regular go to the store.
Yeah. Well, and our prices are at least like lower than that. But like if you're buying an adult book or if you're buying a nonfiction book, it's like almost $30.
Yeah.
It's like 27 at least. And I'm like, why is it being nonfiction make it automatically more expensive if there's not a bunch of photos in it?
I don't understand. The photos do, especially because of the photo paper. That does take a little bit, but like
no, that's what I'm saying, that when it's not, why is that?
Okay, yeah, this was $40. Like, look at this.
But I love those pink edges.
Stunning book.
Gorgeous.
Oh, I love that this is like, let me show you the original cover, because like this is one of my favorite things about this. Like the people who wrote the series were like, we are going to stick it to toxic masculinity through cover design. Because it's like this really hardcore, almost masculine looking cover with this bright bubblegum pink. And I'm just like, this, it's like, I love it. Anyway, I bought that on sale because I knew I wanted it, but I wasn't paying $40 for it.
Yeah.
$30 I would have paid. I know, right? Like the pink is just fantastic, and I love it. I love it because so many men love this series, and I know they're mad.
They have to get the pink book. They have to. Yes, Jane Austen, July, Sense and Sensibility, and Emma. I really enjoy Sense and Sensibility. I have a soft spot for it.
Blue, very Barbie core.
It's very pink, and I love it.
Butterflies in Books says, I've been buying ebooks more often than not for space, and the authors get more of the profits.
This is true.
That's true.
It depends. It does depend on the deal. But typically ebooks, they get the most. Next is hardcovers, then paperback, and then finally audiobooks. So it is. Hold on. This is also a host pick, by the way, for Amazing Readathon. It's Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. It's if you know about the Expanse series that Amazon Prime did 6 seasons of, this is the series that it was based on. So there are definitely improvements from the first book to the first season. Number 1 being that you do not have to be in Miller's head at all, because he's a little grody. He's just a little grody.
Yeah.
It was funny because I was reading it and I was like, Thomas Jane really makes this character very endearing in kind of like a grumpy old man way. And you'll be in his head, I'll be like, oh God, it's a straight dude. That's definitely a straight. We get it. And it is really interesting considering how well they do with like gender and sexuality going on throughout. Like the next book has 2 of the best characters in the series, 2 of the most powerful characters in the series, and they're both women. So, like, just fantastic. But they do like to explore being in the villain's head sometimes as well. Like in all of them, like
I kind of like that sometimes, though. It creates light and shade in a book, which is nice.
It is. It's really interesting, especially especially when like books. I think 4 was a really good one for that. The way that they use the villain's perspective, plus, yes, that was the 10-year special anniversary edition of Leviathan Wakes. Occasionally, you do still see it in a Barnes and Noble.
I'm a hard sell on villain points of view, but when it's done well, it's like very impressive to me. Like, and not even, I think what I like more than like villain point of view is like there's a few authors like Silva Moreno Garcia for me and Catherine M. Valenti where like they can write characters where it's like I don't like you, but I don't hate following you in the book. Because like there's a lot of times when I read a book where it's like I know that this character is supposed to be unlikable. I can see that they're well written, but I hate picking this book up every time we follow them.
Yeah.
And so it's impressive to me when authors like can write that in a way that doesn't make me hate it. Like
one of the things they do really well in book 3 is one of our main characters is a character that does a lot of terrible shit. Before they have kind of a come to Jesus moment, but they really do a good job of like, that's supposed to be like, that's not supposed to be someone you're rooting for. It's more for their perspective and what they're, so certain things about the dynamics of whatever our main characters are fighting against. And the way that they balance those two things are really done really well. But then like in this particular instance, they give this character such an amazing redemption arc throughout the series that it's like, it just pays off. And it also explores, like they do a really good job of exploring human motivation, if that makes sense. Like so many of these people you see and they think they're doing the right, I need to read that even more now. They think they're doing the right thing. And it just, the way that they use those perspectives is what makes the fact that those perspectives are included. Some of them I did not care about. And I was like, this is a waste of I understand I'm getting information here. I don't want to be in their head.
It's always so when there's like that one perspective that as soon as you turn the chapter and realize it's that perspective, you're like, oh no.
Oh my God. I know. Like the like quintessential example for that is I never finished the Aragon books, but I read, I think the first 3 and oh my God, every time we got to a Roran chapter in the second book, I'm like, get me out of here. Like I have never been so tempted to just skip a point of view. Like I was, oh my God, it was so boring. I couldn't handle
this. I read these a long time ago. So
yeah. So Luna, I'm excited to hear that because me and Mel are going to be reading that really soon. I think this month actually.
Nice. Oh, Butterflies and Books, I got that cover for Fragile Threads. I did not even think twice about it. Did not even think twice.
Who's the author on that one?
V.E. Schwab. It's the follow-up to the Dark Shade of Agnes series.
Okay. I was like, what is that? That sounds familiar.
I'm not sure. I think it was a hardcover. And it was actually pretty decently priced for a hardcover if it was. But I looked at that, I was like, matching set. I will pay, like I will pay a little bit more if I know it's shipping from another country, because I know there are taxes and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I plan on that, and I'm in a place like I haven't always been in a place that was doable. But I passed up on a lot of special editions that I would have liked to have, and I'm like, I'm not passing up on anymore. Let's see, what was it? Okay, it was a hardcover. Okay, and it was actually pretty decently priced too for a hardcover book, honestly. Like it's £17, which is not all that, like the pound isn't all that off from the dollar, so it probably was a normally priced hardcover book.
This is making me want to pick this book up so badly.
It's a great book. I maybe threw my Kindle across the room a few times and had to check that my tears didn't damage it. I'm ready. Should we do another sprint?
Sure.
Okay. I texted Brianna that I was maybe low-key starting up. Like, there's so many people trying to reread Little Thieves. And she goes, yay, let the Little Thieves cult begin. And I'm like, Brianna, the second book is about a cult.
It's funny that you say that. Yeah.
I'm dying. I literally, wait a week, guys. Well, I'll read this for the second time this year. Ow. That was my knee.
Margaret's so excited. They're throwing things all over the place.
Yes, I just threw my phone at my knee. It's fine. So anyway.
Should we just go to the hour again? So that would be a slightly longer sprint.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Or do you guys want to do a longer one? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I only need a 17-minute sprint. Apparently.
Okay.
So
I'm good with anything above 17 minutes. That's
okay. Let's just do.
It's
right. She's doing all my work for me.
It's not my fault that publishing loves the color blue. I'm just saying, like, the blue team just automatically starts with an advantage. Blue book privilege.
I mean, no need to be a hater.
Anyways, so listen, I will like, I'll make a Discord for it and everything.
Yay, Rainy. I didn't want to pressure you because all the besties are on different teams. So I didn't want to be like, you must join my team because we're all split up. Bree decided to do that for funsies, but we're all on different teams.
I still need to watch the announcement, so I haven't picked a team yet.
I thought we agreed that you picked the Little Thieves team.
Well, okay. I mean, that's not unlikely. But
you should be on the blue team because it's a blue book.
No.
Yeah.
It's the host book. Or the perfect
That's
team.
true. It is your host book.
Yeah. So,
okay.
anyways.
So, do we want to do like the 35-minute or do we want to add like a 15-minute so it's almost an hour? What do you guys think in the comments?
Why don't we do like we're almost at 7:30. If we do go at 7:30 and do the 15.
Yeah.
Let's do that then.
Good.
Yes, Painted Doubles is red-ish. Where is Painted Doubles?
Yeah, it's red.
Where's my book? I don't know what I did with it. Wait. It is. Hold on. This is purple. There's red.
Oh, it is purple.
It's purple.
Okay, that's perfect because I still need to read that sequel.
That is
Yes,
purple.
you do. Yes, you do. But you would need to be on the purple team for it to get you extra points.
I know. All right, I think we know whose team I'm on. I didn't have a choice when I knew that Little Thieves was involved.
That's fair. I will concede.
You need to read it. I need people to talk about this book with Kara.
I know. Like it's one of those that I've been so excited for that it makes me stressed, and so I've been putting it off because that's the kind of person I am.
So,
well, I've done that before. Oh, 100%.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Like, it is like it was as good as I thought it was going to be, and then better. Just the way that she handles some of the themes. Yes, it made me feel awkward, but like they were awkward subjects. Just and then the endings.
Do we have a release date for the third book yet?
No, we don't.
Oh no.
Oh, that's always stressful.
I think it's probably 2025 because I think that she does two years between books. So,
okay, on Goodreads, the expected publication is January of next year, but I don't think that can be right.
I don't think that's right at all. However, I would definitely whatever Margaret Owen needs, I would be happy to move and provide it.
Yes,
I just need to provide food.
You are available for anything.
Okay. Margaret can also weigh in, but I wanted to jump on this and say that I don't feel like it's poorly paced. Like, I'm not somebody who's usually bothered by pacing. I don't notice it unless it's really atrocious. But I feel like the writing is so good and the characterization is so good that it's like as you're building up to the plot stuff, it feels like anticipation rather than like, oh man, nothing's happening. But what do you think, Margaret?
So much happens in that book, and anyone that tells you that nothing happens in that book is wrong. But it is a slow build book.
Yeah. slow burn kind of fantasy.
It's kind of like you build up to a certain point. It's well, I mean, it's honestly, it's kind of because of the way it is. It's based off of the heist trope, like a heist novel, which is slow build, chaos.
Because Margaret Owen does it right, where she makes you care about the characters before trying to make you care about the heist.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of authors, they're like, you just care it's a heist, right? And I'm like, well, no. Like, who's it happening to? Like,
I'm so excited to read this because I'm a big character-focused reader. So everything you're saying to me is like,
the character work in these books is amazing.
Chef's kiss.
And the way that she's able to do as much as she does, even though it's only a single point of view, brilliant. Both are good. Both are good.
I didn't read the audio. I thought the physical book was great. And also the illustrations that Margaret Owen does herself are beautiful.
Like, she does them herself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like, okay, just multi-talented over here. And they're beautiful. Like, I have the art pieces. I think it was like the part of the pre-order campaign.
Yes, I have that as well. Oh.
And so like the illustrations in the books are not in color, but like, look at how gorgeous these are.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Like,
oh my God.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. They're like,
how much do I have to pay you for those?
I'm sorry, they're not for sale.
I could have answered that. I'm gonna go with those are not available for
Listen, I need you to like, when you write your will, put me in your will. I just want those.
Okay. I'm a little concerned that you're so sure I'm dying first, but like,
you know what? I will put in my will. I will let you have my Illumicrate copy of Painted Devils. So
okay.
I mean, if you ever meet Margaret, I'd watch your back. That's all I got.
This feels very on brand for this series, though, that we're having this conversation. I'm also
didn't like the books and thought the pacing was terrible, and I will buy them from them.
Margaret, do you I know you do a lot more audiobooks than I do. I have found a couple that I've enjoyed, but I'm not really an audiobook person either because I'm not great with auditory processing. I find it very stressful.
That is part of it. I do also I grew up. So here's the thing. I grew up listening to audiobooks and listening to the radio. And that, not just music on the radio, but talking and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think it is very much kind of a muscle that you can work in your brain to get better at. But I also think that there are brains that are not it is auditory information. So that's not going to work for everyone. Mm-hmm. I do know some people have a lot of success with immersion reading where you're reading along with the book. Right. And also reading listening to the audiobook. And it can depend on the genre. I don't listen unless I am reading the book along. I don't do nonfiction via audiobook. Number one, because I want to take notes. Mm-hmm. But also because if I miss information, it's easier to go back on when you're reading. So there are certain things that the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, I tried to listen to that via audio and I could not.
I
could not. Fantasy, it's just not possible. Unless I'm immersion reading, I'm fine, but just to watch and listen.
I have listened to Brandon Sanderson on audio. So typically, there aren't a lot of audiobooks that make my brain go, huh? But N.K. Jemisin did that. I think it's a matter of see if it's something you're interested in. Just see if immersion reading works for you. Mm-hmm. Kind of train that muscle and see if that helps. And if not, that's fine. Maybe that's just your brain. You do better visually than you do auditorily. I'm also trained as an actor and stuff, and a lot of that you have to be able to remember stuff that people told you. I'm not as good at that anymore, but
I do I have had better luck with immersion reading, but I find it very useful when I'm pushing myself through something, but it's rare that I enjoy the experience because if I'm enjoying the book, I usually just want to read it myself. Mm-hmm. But there have been a couple the audiobook for Healer of the Water Monster by Brian Young is fantastic. Yeah. And I genuinely enjoyed the experience so much that even though I could have read it physically, I just sat there listening to it with the book open because he was such a good narrator. It was also very nice to hear the Danae words pronounced properly. So like there are some that I like truly think it enhanced the experience for me.
I said that with Babel too, because there's so many words that I was like, really, this is a book that immersion reading is ideal for, because you kind of, it's too technical to just be like listening and walking, but like to physically read with all the different languages, God bless and good luck. Like, I wish you all the best.
It does. Like I said, I've been listening to audiobooks since I was a small child. So that may have had something to do with it, that like my brain was working on that for as long as it's been working on that almost my entire life. So like I don't know, but I do, like, I love them. And if you find, it also depends on the narrator, because I have to speed some of these up. Like if you get Michael frickin' Kramer out there, he's a fantastic audiobook narrator, but he is so slow.
Oh, I have to speed them up, or it's harder for me to understand.
I need you to be like, that's part of why I speed up YouTube videos as well. I need you to be conversational pace.
Yeah.
I need you to be at the pace that we would if we were having a conversation. Otherwise, my brain cannot focus on you.
Well, and I've probably used this example before, but like Margaret, you were saying with like acting and performance, I remember our Shakespeare acting professor told us, like, people who are just getting into doing like Shakespeare and performing that, it's like their instinct is to slow it down so people can understand it better. And he says you don't want to do that. You want it to sound like an actual conversation, because then people can get the inflection and what's happening, even if some of the words are unfamiliar. So it's like, that's how it is for me with audio, is like, it is actually distracting to me. It's like harder to keep track of the sentences when it's not sped up.
Yeah, one-time speed is not even like talking speed. Like no one talks at that speed. No.
I'm like, this is stressful just sitting here listening to how slow this is.
And it depends on how hard the book is making your brain work. A lot of books do not make your brain work hard enough that one-time speed works. I think the slowest I do is 1.5 if I'm really having a hard time. Like, I'm like, if I find that I'm having to go back a lot because I miss things, I'll go down to like 1.5 times speed. But yeah. No, Shakespeare was specifically meant to be performed, and they would have performed it very quickly.
Yeah.
Because like that just was the way things were done. Like if it was being performed slowly and there were they were for dramatic effect.
Yes. Okay. Do we want to actually sprint?
Yeah, sprint. Let's go.
This keeps happening. Okay, so we're going till 45. I don't know how many minutes that is. We'll see you later.
That is actually just like 6 minutes. Do we want to think we wanted to go till 15?
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Thank you.
Good catch, Margaret, because I didn't.
I was just like, yeah, that seems right. Okay, 15 is what I meant, because it was going to be a 45-minute sprint.
Yes, I knew what happened.
Yes. All right, mute your mics. We will see you later. Okay, everybody, welcome back.
Hello.
How did everyone do? Margaret, did you finish?
I did. And
Good.
I just so like here's the thing. That ending was really good. So now I know what happens next. So I'm gonna suffer some more probably. Oops. And then I got to page 70 in Rapunzel's Revenge.
Nice.
So like it's I really like what she's trying to do with the book, and I can deal with the things I don't like about it to figure out to see if I can if it gets better in the second half of the book.
Mhm.
Especially it would make sense that maybe she doesn't like the first half is not going to be, or the first bit is not going to be the best part, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
anyways, I'm liking this so far. This is fun.
Good. What about you?
I did 22 more pages. So I probably am not actually going to finish tonight, but I'll get close.
Yeah, that's good too. That's good too.
That's fine. I'm perfectly okay with that.
I had to take a laundry break.
Fair.
So I probably only read, I don't know how many I read, but less than last time. But I'm on page 89. And so even though I didn't make my 100-page mark, I went ahead and added it to Goodreads because I am making progress at least. And I definitely will get there by the end of tonight, which is good. Hello, Jen. Hi again, Bree. 14 minutes of video edited. Solana finished Legends and Lattes for shortest book. Decided to read the short story in the back for the second prompt for vlog. Cozy fantasy themed. Oh, I love a double duty like that. Okay, how did anyone else do? I am liking it more, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, I like the letters part, and I feel like more is happening now, and I like some of the supporting characters more because at the beginning I wasn't really liking anybody, so it's improving. But
Well, that's good. That's good. Sometimes books, like as much as we want them to like capture us right away, sometimes they can take a little slog.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm like pretty patient with that. I think for whatever reason I have a harder time with romance that does that.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, probably because like I mean, especially one of my issues was like I don't like I'm not rooting for this couple yet.
Yeah.
And it's like it's kind of hard to make yourself continue a book where it's like, well, that's like the whole point.
It's really hard to like a romance when you don't care about the romance.
Yeah, like there have been a couple that have done that for me because like I liked other parts of the story, but in general I'm like I can't really have a great time.
No, like that's the whole point of, like fantasy and some stuff that makes sense that you may need some time to get like historical fiction to get into it, but if it's a straight up romance like and you're not vibing with the main couple, that's just pain.
Exactly.
Well, and romance doesn't really require as big of a backstory as, fantasy or even historical fiction sometimes requires a little bit more like information. Yeah. But like fantasy needs obviously world building and backstory of like what is going on. But romance is really just boy meets girl, here you go.
Yeah. Well, and like one of the annoying things about like the setup for this one that I think was why I put it down is like I was saying, I'm not really liking the world. And I feel like the world building, like she would just, I understand it was intentional because like the word choice and everything, it's supposed to be, I don't know, kind of quirky almost. Like they're talking about these, I can't remember any of the names for them now, but there's like these mail deliverers and like they're giant rabbits or owls and like they talk, some of them talk like cowboys and it's just like, it's a lot. And I'm like, I understand this is supposed to be fun and quirky. And I think I would feel that way if I was liking the characters more, but because I'm not, I'm like, this is annoying. Stop it.
The whimsical elements aren't hitting like you want them to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think I do actually like the sort of like belief systems like around their death practices is super interesting, because that's like, it's called The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. One of the main characters is an undertaker, and the other one is like the one who brings in bodies and stuff. Also, I'm just not a fan of swamps. And this is giving me like a big like swamp vibe from like the setting. So anyway, Margaret, I think you're going to say something, and then I just started talking about this book.
Do I remember if I don't think I was going to say something.
Okay.
I think I might have
Brittany,
dropped something.
I don't know, but I was not expecting you to say the word swamp, so I'm still like, what?
It's like, it's so weird. Like, I don't understand. And that's another thing that's like, I think this is supposed to be fun and quirky, and I'm just not enjoying it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think I have at least decided that I'm gonna stick it out now, because I am curious to see how some things go. Yeah. No, we would not get along. It's not even like as an actual location, I don't mind it, but for whatever reason, when it's like a setting in like a book, I find it like uninteresting. I don't know. Also, like there's like a ton of description of like the decaying bodies in the swamp, which is part of why I'm like not having the best time, which is another thing that is supposed to be part of like the interesting quirkiness of the book. And I'm like, I get it, but I could do with less detail. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, it's like you're wanting me to like get into this romance, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about the maggots you told me about. Like,
oh,
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I can see where the disconnect may lie.
Yeah,
What?
it's like an interesting combination of tones. Like, people
so
are loving this one though. Yeah, it's very popular. So
Okay. Well, that we.
Sorry, it's hard to come back from that. I know.
Sarah is not Fiona. Anyways.
Moving on.
Interesting. I may have to swap out. Apparently, Small Miracles, which is one of the books I need to read, or is on my TBR. I may need to save that for August, since that apparently is one of Brianna's favorites.
It is.
So,
It is a favorite.
We gotta think. I know I've got at least one of Brianna's favorites that I've checked out from the library. The library may be trying to get it back for me, because they did send me a letter about some books that are very late.
They sent you a letter?
Well, here's the thing. They give you 10 days. They don't charge fines anymore. They give you 10 days to return the book. And then if you don't return the book in 10 days, they charge you the full price of the book plus a convenience fee. And you need to return the book where that stays on your account until you pay it. So.
Okay. So it's like a deposit, sort of. Like you have to get the deposit back.
Yeah, basically, if I return the book, I don't owe them any money.
Right.
But if I do not return the book, I am in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our library doesn't do fines anymore either, but I don't know if they have something like that.
Yeah, ours got rid of fines during COVID, because I think they were really realizing that like some people just could not get in at very specific times because, you know, COVID. So we have no fines, and they do charge like a book replacement fee, which I think is only like $10 though, after 30 days being late. But you can go 30 days late. I'm like, do you want your books back? Like,
that's funny. No, like ours did that. They charge you the price of the book back. But one of them, like I was like, oh, I'll return this in a couple of days because I need it for D&D and I can't buy it yet. I forgot to return it, and those are $50 books.
So you must return those at some point.
At this point, there are probably several in that letter that they sent me that were due around the same time. So I need to return those probably sometime tomorrow during sprints.
Yeah.
I meant to run off for a little bit between sprints to do that, but I forgot.
Margaret, do you want to show us what you're working on?
Oh, yes. I am starting February for my genre blankets.
Okay.
Yeah. We love it. We love to see it.
I love the colors.
Yeah.
Every time I see your genre blanket, I'm like, I just love the colors.
I'm so excited.
Great.
Very soon I get to actually add purple in. Like purple.
I'm kind of wanting, like, seeing yours is kind of making me want to try something like that for next year.
Yeah.
Jen says, that's how my library works. There's no late fees, but if you keep a book 30 days past the due date, they charge you the cost of the book. But once the book is returned, it goes away.
Yeah.
If you owe more than $20, then you can't borrow more books.
If you have a book that's overdue more than 10 days and they've charged, your account is locked until you return it. So they do lock our accounts. So I need to fix that because, you know, Hoopla exists and I may need some audiobooks here this month.
Yes.
So anyways.
Yeah, I was hoping I would be able to find the one I'm reading now on audio because I was like, this is a prime candidate for immersive reading to like keep myself going. And of course they don't have it. They have physical copies, they have two kinds of ebook copies, and they don't have an audio. So I guess I'm on my own. But
that's annoying.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
I am glad though that like the soft DNF prompt got me to actually like pick it up and finish it, or you know, like make a decision, because I really have too many of those just like languishing everywhere. And then I feel like I'm less likely to like keep my books organized, like to put things away, because it's like, well, technically I'm reading that, and it's like, are you though? No.
I mean, it depends on your definition of reading.
Yeah.
I have so many that I'm currently reading. And at this point, like I always do like a Goodreads clear out vlog at the end of the year. So I'm like, worst case scenario, it's for a vlog in December.
Worst case scenario, you're just planning content.
Worst case scenario, I am just really, really ahead. Yeah. So, you know, go me.
Selena says, I stopped borrowing books because I always forget to return them. Yeah, I feel like I have gotten really out of the habit of like returning physical books on time. Like I've gotten a little better now because it happened a couple times where they were overdue and they were like, hey, bring your books back. But it's like when COVID started and everything, it's like I was not checking out like anything physically really. And so I just forgot about like, oh yeah, when you borrow books, you have to give them back.
You do need to give them back.
Yeah.
What a concept.
I have a tendency to just borrow a ton of books and then give them back and never have time to read them. That's my toxic. They come for a visit to visit my house.
Yes. And you're giving those authors like, you know, a little boost in terms of however their royalties work. So yeah. It's like you took them for a nice little walk.
That's literally, I take them for a little vacation from their time on the shelves, and then I take them back.
I have many that end up doing like you check them out and then you just don't get around to them.
You know, I always have like such high expectations of myself when I go to the library. I'm like, yes, forgetting that I own like a whole library unto itself. And
listen, I like having options, you know?
Exactly.
I just forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind. Yeah. Like it was like about to come out of my mouth and I was like, what? I'm going to blame how hot it is. Like,
that's fair.
I'm not at my best.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, am I back? Oh no, I'm not.
Okay. Did something happen?
Margaret's frozen.
Oh no.
Or I think.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. Back? Yeah. She was.
There you are.
Was frozen for a second on mine too, but we're good.
Yeah. It happens.
Yes. I work at the library and constantly take things home, even though I own so many books. Yeah. And also, I think I just remembered the thing I was going to say. Like the number of times that I have like this stack of books and I'm like, oh, I'll get to them before it's time. And then like it's 3 days before and I'm like, I don't want to read any of these. And it's like, well, I'm the one who picked them, so I should try to read some of them. And then I like look at them and I'm like, no. So I just return like most of them unread. So when I generally just buy books, then donate them if I don't like them. Yeah, that's what I do a lot as well. And it's also, I understand, whoops, my Sprint banner is still up. Sorry. I understand that a lot of people don't feel this way and it totally makes sense. But unless it's like a lot of money or it's like a book that I really hated, I don't usually feel like, oh, that was a waste because I bought this book and I read it and I didn't keep it. You
Yeah.
know, because I put money into my hobby of reading in a way that not everyone does, and I totally get that, but it like doesn't bother me. Like especially if it's a book that like it doesn't like offend me in any way. I just didn't care for it, you know? It's like
Absolutely.
I'm not sad about having supported an author, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, I'm very careful about, like, I personally just am careful about the books I buy. Because I don't see any reason to own books I don't like, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I also like, I feel like especially as I've read more and more and, you know, like reviewing books and watching other people review books, I'm pretty good usually about kind of guessing which ones that I'm going to like. So like there are definitely times where like I, you know, pre-order a book and I'm so excited and maybe I even buy the sequel and then I'm like, oh, I hate this. No, this is not for me. Yes. But like that doesn't happen super often. So even though like I also have kind of a tendency to like buy multiple books in a series I haven't started, like you were saying, Brittany. So I still do that, but like usually I have a pretty good feeling on like if I'm gonna like an author when I do that. So far so good.
Well,
I don't know.
This film might make your freak out tag, and I said that this is like one of my best. Like I have the most 5 stars that I probably ever had at the beginning of a year, but that's because I know what I like, and I'm more likely to pick up books that I like.
Yes, and that's why I find it really frustrating when like end of year content rolls around and there's all those people who it's like they're like, well, I want a bell curve of my readings, and I'm like, to me that tells me I'm not very good at picking things I enjoy. Like I don't think it automatically makes you a better reviewer because you have a lower average rating. Like I understand, like, yeah, if there's somebody I'm watching and like they give like literally every book 5 stars, it's like I'm happy for you, but this is not super useful for me. But I don't think that like we should then go so far in the other direction that it's like, oh well, unless you have like at least this number of 2-star and 3-star books, then you're not thinking critically about what you read. It's like I'm just getting good at it, like.
Well, and I feel like I have less 2 stars now because I DNF more often too. So I'm like,
DNFing affects it as well. Yeah. And I feel like too, like the longer that we read, like the better we get at finding stuff. But I also think that like the longer we read, I think the more stuff we try. I don't know. Like, and so I feel like those things kind of balance out. It's like, yeah, I'm really good at picking stuff, but also I know there are genres and things that I'm trying now that I wouldn't have tried like 3 years ago. Absolutely. And sometimes those work out great and sometimes they don't. So it's still kind of like, I feel like I'm still venturing into other things. So it's my little TED talk on like end of year.
I agree.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like I know there are people out there that are like, oh, well, if you are all writing like 4 and 5-star books, then like you're not being hard enough on your books. Nah, I know what I like.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and people have different kind of ideas of what like ratings mean. Like I mean,
stars mean different things to different people.
Yes. And I think as long as like people know from your content kind of where yours are at, like that's all that matters. Is like if the system works for you and the people who watch your content know what it is, then like you're fine. But like, yeah, like, I mean, I know there's some people I follow where it's like, unless this book makes me want to throw all of my other books into the ocean, it's not 5 stars. And then
I'm not that
like,
way.
Yeah, it's like there's some.
Those are like the people who do college classes and are like, I very rarely give out an A.
Yes, exactly. I hate that. I'm like, why are you bragging about being a bad teacher?
Like, right? And here's the thing. That makes you a bad teacher. It doesn't make you a bad reviewer if you really need to be impressed to give a 5-star. I think it's a little silly, but if you really need to be impressed,
I think the reason why I don't gravitate to that kind of system is because I'm like, well, then you basically don't have a 5-star system. Like just use 4 stars then, you know, because otherwise it's like if you never use this part of the scale, then I don't feel like, at least for me as like somebody watching someone's reviews, I don't necessarily feel like that's super helpful to me either. You know, it's like, so
there's this kind of, and you see this also when it comes into the algorithms, there's this kind of idea that the more clinical and like objective and removed you are able to make yourself from reviewing a book, the more legitimate your review is.
Right.
There is an idea, like we're trying to take art and we're trying to take looking at it, and we're looking at it in a way that art is not always necessarily meant to be looked at. Like you are meant to be able to pick apart art and look into it and see, like, know the context and all of those things. But sometimes I do see people get kind of caught up in the cerebral legitimacy part of it and forget that this is art. And that's not to say like people who are like, you need to be like Mari from My Name is Marinez is wrong to be like looking at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things that I think people are trying to make book reviewing seem more legitimate.
Yeah. Like a science.
By making it seem more numbers based.
Yes. Mari's a great example because she is very analytical in a way that I love. And she also talks about like the emotional investment and response like that she has to a book and like how invested she feels in the characters and everything. And like that is a part of how you review. Like if you read a book and there's like you don't have any feelings about what's happening, like that is a criticism of the book, you know. It's like it's a weird thing to me. It also relatedly, I really hate when like people like if there's a book that you really hate and it's like making you angry or upset because like there are things that are actually like, you know, like offensive or like harmful in it. It's like, well, people responding with like, well, if it makes you angry, then that means it caused an emotional response, which means it's a good book. And I'm like, no, like not all emotional responses are created equal. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Like, is it making you angry because you are supposed to be angry at the injustice of what is happening? Or is it making you angry because the author is absolutely fumbling the bag?
Exactly. Or like I read a contemporary book recently that has a character who at the beginning is like not super pleasant to be in their head, but like that is the point, and it is well executed, and like the book is about them like starting to pay attention to the way things are in the world. And it was like an effective part of the story, and it was intentional. So yeah, it just, I don't know. People are weird about like star ratings, and I think there's definitely this feeling that like the more mathematical you can be about reviewing, like the better a reviewer you are. And I just don't think that's true. And it's also, it's hard not to see a kind of gender bias in that too, because like stereotypically the kind of emotional response is something associated with like women more often.
And like there are people that really effectively use algorithms to help them make decisions about books, but then there will be some people that I've like watched reviews and like I'll realize that continually like the algorithm is disagreeing with their own thoughts on the book. I'm like, it's
like they're gushing about it, but then the algorithm spits out like a 3-star, and you're like, that doesn't. It doesn't.
Surprised that this book was rated highly or this book was being rated lowly. Maybe you need to like tweak your algorithm.
Right,
it's
like
not working right now.
And I know that like some people find the like average rating system like where they use like a math equation basically to figure out their average star rating. Like I know there are people who really find that works for them, and there are people I follow whose reviews I enjoy and who use that. But I always feel like, and obviously I'm biased because I don't use one of those systems, but like I feel like one of the nice things about reviewing in a format like this is that there can always be room for mixed feelings or like for like, I don't know, nuance, and like not that you can't be nuanced
feelings with the algorithms, but like
there is, but I'm saying like there's room, like if you have like a math problem kind of set up and there's all these pieces of the book that like don't really come together for you perfectly, but the way that you feel about the whole is like, I actually really enjoyed this though. If you don't have a category for that, you can't reflect that in the rating. And so that's something like I appreciate having that flexibility, you know?
I also think that like different elements of books, like there are certain elements of books that are depending on the book should be weighted differently. Like it may not make like some books. The book is written. If the like think about like thrillers and mysteries. Like the ending is such a crucial part of that book. So that should, in that case, whether or not the author stuck the ending and managed to make everything come together, should have a greater weight on what you rate it.
Yes.
Than just like, oh, did the ending work?
Well, like prime example is I know
that way.
Yeah, I know that you, Margaret, enjoyed The Wife Upstairs, and I think I saw you
read that book.
Wait, the Rachel Hawkins one, didn't you?
Oh no, I gave it 4 stars. So
that's an interesting example because I saw that you enjoyed it. I hated the ending. The ending ruined it for me, and that was
the ending was my favorite part of that book.
Okay, so I can't.
There's a final scene, and if we had never had that final scene, I would have liked it so much more than I did. Like I know what you're talking about, and I just like that as well, Kara.
Okay, I'm gonna put up a little spoiler tag. So if you do not want to hear a discussion of the ending for The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, I'm gonna put up a spoiler tag for that.
Okay, I was thinking of a completely different book.
I will take it down when I'm done, but I have to say something. Okay, so the reason that I specifically hated that ending, and I know that this is something that I am more bothered by than like other types of like disappointing endings. So I fully recognize that. But the thing that I hated about that ending is that the message was kind of like, don't trust your instincts, ladies. This man was the victim all along.
Yeah,
and I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I just like in the year that book was published, like the fact that it was published so recently, like it's hard for me to see that as like existing in a vacuum. And like that's why like I wasn't like loving the book anyway. It was probably around 3 stars for me, but like that ending is what really did like actively ruin it for me, because it was really hard for me to like take that any other way.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I didn't quite take it that way. I took it as more of a like, I felt like she was more conflicted and she wasn't sure which, like she's obviously like he's a douche. And she knows he's a douche, but she didn't think he was a murderer. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so,
but I think because like there were specific red flags that ended up being like actually red herrings, because like the way that he like gets angry, and there was something about like I can't remember like the specific
stuff in there that did bug me, and like I wasn't mad that she didn't end up with him.
Oh no, like, I would not have wanted that.
I was mad about like that final scene with them in the car, and she's like, I think I maybe saw him. I'm just like, Rachel.
Yeah, like I think like if the things that she had used had not been so specifically like warning signs that somebody is abusive, I think it wouldn't have bothered me as much. Because like and I can't remember the examples now because I read it a while ago. But
and I can't remember how much of it, because I know she heard like stuff that was hearsay from others. And then that kind of seemed to make her more suspicious of him. But like I know, I understand what you're saying. Like that does make sense. I don't know.
It's
I think
hard
I
to like
probably would have been at like a 3 star.
Yeah. It's like I think I could not separate the ending from the gender of the characters, you know? Which was the reason. But like I do understand that like that is not an interpretation everyone would have.
Like I liked the twist with B. I loved that twist that they did. Like that was, I was like, okay, that's really turning this on its head. But I hated the way, like the thing that really struck me is like that ending and then the way it was structured. We needed his point of view throughout the whole book as well, because it just killed the tension. It really did. It killed the tension.
Yeah.
So
okay. I'll go ahead and take the spoiler tag down, unless we have.
And we are done talking about The Wife Upstairs.
Yeah. All right. Taking spoiler tag down.
You can unmute us.
Yes. Natalie says actual plot events of the ending may not be too important. Right. Like I think there are different like what you were saying, Margaret, different genres should have kind of different weights. Well, it's like we were talking about with romance. It's like if the romantic relationship of a romance does not work for you, probably not a great book for you. But if you're reading something else and there's like a romance subplot, that may or may not drastically affect, like, because there have been times where I'm like, I know we're not spending that much time on this, but this like romance pisses me off so much that this is like ruining things. But
well, the thing with an ending too, it's really important in thriller. It's less important in romance because all romance end the same way.
Right. I was trying to explain that the other day to somebody when I was talking about Korean dramas and how like I think one of the like people in the US especially who like haven't started watching them yet. I think that something I always try to remember to tell people is like they're not all rom-coms. I think like for like, American viewers, I think kind of expect if a show is like if a show has like a lot of time spent on the main romance, they assume, okay, rom-com, happy ending. And I'm like, no, like there's a lot of variety in endings.
There's a lot of tragic romance in these things.
If you are expecting a happy ever after every time, you are going to be sorely disappointed.
Exactly. It's like I use spoilers very frequently for K-dramas because like you can get so many different things. Like
here's what I found that the easiest way to kind of sort them out is if it is historical fantasy type setting, this is going to have a sad ending.
Almost always.
That's very true.
If it's set in the modern day and seems kind of cute, you're probably safe.
Okay, except you sometimes get things like, because This Is My First Life is one that I know a lot of people love. This is another case of like, I was having a pretty good time, even though I liked one of the couples a lot more. But I was having a pretty good time with the main couple. And then the way they ended it, and the writers clearly viewed this as a happy ending. And I'm like, I can't get on board with this kind of emotional like devastation that this one character inflicted on the other and acting like it was nothing. Like, I just can't, like, that was something that clearly felt like they think they're giving us a happy ending. And I'm like, I hate this person now. I can't.
That happened with one of my books that I did this year, Talk Bookish to Me. The third act breakup and the advice that women gave women around the third act breakup. I was like, I cannot. It's not just like, oh, a little miscommunication. No, this is like a whole toxic situation happening. And then women are giving very toxic advice. And I was like, I can't move forward with this relationship and like these people any longer. This is so toxic.
Yeah.
And I was like, what has happened?
See, because This Is My First Life was actually my first K-drama, and I did actually really like it. So.
Oh, there were a lot of things about it I enjoyed, and I totally understand having like an especial attachment to the first one that you watched or that you enjoyed. So, and it's not like my least favorite or anything. I just like always think about that as an example of like, wow, they really thought they gave us a happy ending, and I'm furious.
I thought they did, but I also I just can't get over. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that we didn't necessarily see because it was like an episode.
But like I'm not going to put the spoiler tag up because I'm going to be very vague, and it's kind of like third act breakup that you would expect. But like she comes back after like finding herself for like a year plus, and he is like literally sobbing because she abandoned him in the specific way that his like traumatic ex did. I'm like, I can't be okay with this. Like, there's one I haven't seen this one, but I know people who have seen it and they were telling me about it. There's one that I'm not going to say the name of because this would be a spoiler, but like somebody like just leaves and they let the other person think they died of cancer. And 3 years later, they come back and they're like, hey, I didn't want to tell you until I like finished the treatment or whatever. And I'm like, this person thought you were dead for 3 years? Like, how are you going to repair that kind of...
That is a whole other level of emotional abuse and torture that is not okay.
Yeah, like I could not... like I said, it wasn't what I watched, thankfully, but...
It's that honestly though that tracks with a lot of the tropes and kind of what you see.
No, I know that ending is like not at all unusual. I'm just saying I still have problems with it. Like,
what was the one I watched? It's the one about the books and she's older. There's
that
drama where it's like
prime example for me of like supporting couple being way better for me than the main couple, which usually doesn't happen with K-dramas. That's one of the things I like about them is like I'm usually really sold on the main couple. Yeah. I just want to get to comments real quick before I start rambling about Korean dramas again. Jen was saying, usually just buys things the library doesn't have. Tends to be a lot of fantasy books or niche things I'm interested in. Right. Like I read a lot of indie fantasy. And so even if I wanted to buy fewer books and, you know, read from the library more, then there's a lot that wouldn't work with. So Lana, my last 5 books have surprisingly all been 5 stars when last year I only read 2 5-star books. That's great. That's amazing. Bree was saying, it makes me so mad when teachers and professors do that. You're not supposed to give grades, but rather the students are supposed to earn them, and you should be working to help them to do so. Yes, it makes me so annoyed when, like,
I only ever had one teacher that was like, it's very hard to get an A in my class, but she also did such a good job of helping you. Like, I was one of the kids that got an A in her class, so like, me and my brother both got A's. I still hold that I had a higher grade because she knew she gave him a high grade and she lost all of the papers for that semester. So she just kind of guessed. And she's like, I knew I'd given him a high grade, so I just gave him a perfect score. And I was like, Miss LaPointe. Do you understand? But like the way that she worked is she did her stuff as a portfolio class. And so she would give you an initial grade and then tell you how to make it better. And then you got to resubmit at the end. Like you got to pick like,
I like that.
And like she did it so it was she had high standards, but it wasn't impossible, you know?
I really liked one of the professors I had in college who like did all the Shakespeare classes I took, which I love, or like the reading and writing Shakespeare, not like performance. But she was like an amazing teacher. And one of the things that she did that I also really liked was when you got the papers back from her with like her comments, if you wanted to do it again, like you could do it again. Like you could keep turning in these papers
to make
until the end of the year, which I thought is so cool. Cause it's like, yeah, that's actually about, you want to help them learn, you know, you're not just like, well, this is it. You got this grade and now you'll be, you know, punished for not knowing what I want
with that till the end of time. Yeah.
I still have some of my essays that I did for her on one of my thumb drives.
I kept, I think, all of my Shakespeare essays. I was like, I'm proud of these. Like, I made some points, okay?
So, but yeah, I did not think that far ahead. But I did save some of them.
Yeah. Do we want to close out with a last little like mini sprint? Because I'm probably gonna get off pretty soon to figure out dinner. I don't know, any fellow like West Coasters in the comments who are like also haven't eaten yet, but would we want to just do, should we just do to like the 10-minute? I mean, that's like a really short one, but
yeah, we could do to like maybe do to like the
15.
Yeah, do to like the 10. That's about a 15-minute sprint.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So we're gonna finish it out with a nice little mini sprint, a sprintlet, and
sprintlet.
Yes. And remind me, well, when we come back, you guys can talk about like the next sprints that you're going to be hosting, because I know there's going to be a lot. It's very exciting. Okay. So sprint.
So many sprints.
10. Alrighty. We will see you very soon. Okay, everybody, that was our final sprint for this round. I ended at a chapter, so I'm feeling good about that. But
yeah, I actually didn't read because at the end of the last sprint, I ended on a like this book doesn't have chapters, it just has like 6 parts. So they're very long. So
that's
the
hard,
next book was, according to the audiobook, 138 minutes. And I was like, I don't feel like 10 p.m. is a good time to enter that. So I just answered like emails and was on Instagram and wasted time. But that's, it's 10 o'clock. So
yeah, like that's a good time to waste time.
it's perfectly acceptable time to waste time.
Yes. Do you guys want to mention any upcoming sprints you have? I don't have the schedule in front of me, or I could have prepared for that.
Margaret, you're muted, love.
Yeah.
I got to page 82. You guys probably didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I'll have this. Hopefully, I'll have this finished by the end of the night, and I'll be able to start on read number 2 for this thing. It's cool. I'm having fun with it. It's really kooky and zany and very definitely written for like a middle grade audience, but I'm enjoying it. So, what was I going to say? Oh, sprints. We have Brianna tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then Brittany, you're going at what, 6 Eastern time?
Yeah, 6 Eastern time. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have more going throughout there. There is if you go into the Discord for this, it's in my announcement video. There is a playlist somewhere in the Discord. I believe it's in the How It Works that has all of the reading sprints that I have found that have been scheduled so far, basically.
Oh, nice.
I should remember to send you the link so you don't have to scroll and try and keep up.
You are already on there.
Oh, good.
So
you're ahead of you're so good.
Yeah. So I've got you in there, I've got Brianna's in there, and then I've got all of mine. And then just as people are like adding stuff, I add it to the list.
Yeah. I need to look at the sign up again because I might do a couple others because we're going the whole month now.
Yes.
Hex Library, possibly doing sprints on my channel right now and hopping between the two. I love that.
I love that.
Okay, so like I said, Brittany and Margaret are already linked, and we also have some other wonderful co-hosts joining us. So that info is in Margaret's announcement, I think. Is it? I think it is.
Yes.
Anyway, yes.
Well, I don't think
anyway.
So I don't think I'd had co-hosts nailed down when I made the announcement, so it's not linked, but they are, like, everybody who shows up on a video is in my what's the word? My description box. So
okay. Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out and reading with us. Brittany and Margaret, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you. I know sometimes people watch these back afterwards, so thank you for that. That is, like, that always blows my mind. It's like people just want to like listen to our past hangouts. That's so cool.
I think it does help, which is why I've started making playlists of sprints, because they'll put one on and then just watch them go through all of it.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, have a good rest of your weekend, everyone, or whenever you're watching this. I hope you have a good day. And there are many more sprints to come, so we might see you guys there. All right, bye. And now we get to wait for like 1,000 years.
It takes forever.